there was two things that stood out to me about this case.
Mm-hmm.
Your son, in my humble opinion, and I know many great lawyers, and I've seen more bad ones than great ones and good ones in Houston, Harris County,
Mm-hmm.
but he had real poor representation, in my humble opinion. Greetings, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the People's Global News Network. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the People's Global News Network, a network where we bring you the raw, unadulterated truth about stories involving the criminal justice system, involving the workplace, involving the system, period. This channel, this news network, was designed to give the people a voice that don't have one. Now you will hear stories, as you always have from this network, where we expose judicial misconduct, prosecutorial misconduct, police misconduct, and the abuse of citizens that they feel have no power. We're going to bring you a story this morning, which is a shocking story. This story involves a young man, a severe mental health patient in Houston, Harris County, that was charged with an awful crime, but they never took into serious consideration the long documented systemic history of mental health problems and the crisis he was going through at the time. His mother, Jeannie, joins us this morning. Jeannie, tell us your son's name, tell us about your son, and tell us what happened in this case.
Okay, so my son's name is Ramon Vasquez. My son, 19 years old at the time, he just got out of high school. He didn't graduate. He missed it off of one credit because he submitted his artwork. The teacher didn't get it, and they asked him to uh, to do it again, right? To resubmit it. But because he kind of misses social cues, you could say, and he's very firm with what he believes, and he stands where he's like, no, I did it, I turned it in, and that's why he did not graduate. Okay, so my son has a long history of mental health ever since he was a young kid, starting from elementary. He had very bad grade. It was like in the 40s, and ultimately, it was determined that he was diagnosed with ADHD at the time. He was unable to focus. He had racing thoughts. Um, he had anger issues. After a while, I had to take him off of the medicine because he became more aggressive with it. I gave him natural supplements, but at that time, I couldn't afford it anymore. So as time went by, he got older. In high school, it started kind of developing a little bit stronger. So he was getting in trouble in school. Um, he ended up having to go to one of those schools where they place when the bad, the trouble kids. And at that time, he told me, he's like, Mom, I know I need therapy. He asked for help. So I took him to Texana. And when we went to Texana, he went through all the process until it was time to meet the psychiatrist. On that day, we get there, the psychiatrist, his name is Edmund Mundy in Sugarland. That is a great place. I recommend it for anyone that needs help. But at that time, for whatever reason, he diagnosed my son being bipolar. He was going to get counseling therapy. He was going to go there in the mornings. Counselors going to go to his school to give him counseling and therapy. He was going to get his prescription to calm his mind, to calm his impulses, because those were some of the things that created chaos for him. Um, at that time, the doctor says, "Oh, well, he's bipolar," and I wasn't familiar with that. I asked him, "So, would you be able to tell me what that means? What does that mean? Like, I need you to tell me what it means because I know people that are bipolar, and I guess with my son, it hadn't escalated to the point yet for me to actually see it and recognize it. So he got infuriated and he slammed his hand on the desk and stands up and yells at me. Everybody even to the front office could hear him. You are not gonna tell me how to do my job. And then he slams the door open and he says, y'all need to get out. He says, "Get out," and he kicks us out of there.
And all you were
Nope.
attempting to do was get your son the mental health therapy and treatment, the therapeutic mental health treatment that he needed.
Yes.
And all you wanted was just an explanation of things to
Mhm.
make it common to where a common person could understand medical terminology and not be confused.
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's all I needed. So, I was crying. My son left the room first and I was crying out. I was crying and then the nurse pulled me to the side. Oh, well, she's like, "You're not supposed to ask him anything," as if she know, like it's something common for him or something. I'm not sure, but that's what she told me. I got a call days after asking for us to go back, that there was going to be somebody in the room and they were going to, but my son refused. Like he was not going to go back there. And
And did you see progression of his mental instability and mental health issues getting worse and worse and worse?
after that, it all spiraled down. After that, that's when I saw the bipolar. That's when he started lashing out, yelling at me like we could not communicate because it was like from a 0 to 100, it would spike very fast. So then I saw now I understood what he meant, that doctor or the nurse practitioner meant. And so I then took him to um, a different medical institution. I can't recall what the name is, but very common in Houston. The medication they gave him had him feeling suicidal. He had him feeling like a zombie. Like he told me, "Mom, I can't take this." Last night, I felt like I wanted to take my life. And so he stopped taking it. I took him to his doctor. I was like, "Well, let's at least go and get your ADHD medicine." So we go to that doctor, and when we're there, the doctor asked him, "So what do you think about school and this and that?" And my son told him the truth, for his truth. He says, "I don't think that what they teach me there is going to help me anything for my future, for my, to." And he just doesn't believe in the education process. Like I'm not sure why, but he didn't, and he felt like he can always, work hands on somewhere else. He's never been into school. He has ADHD. He's very creative. He has a brilliant mind. He has a great memory, and he's very his imagination is just so big. But it's like asking a fish to climb a tree. You see what I'm saying? That wasn't him, his
What
spark.
was the ultimate last final mental health diagnosis of your son? Do you recall? Because from our research, he had multiple mental health diagnoses at the end. I mean, severe
Yeah,
paranoid schizophrenia,
yeah. That
psychotic. He had a psychotic diagnosis, psychotic, paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar. He had severe mental health issues because when we researched with our sources in the Harris County Jail, he
mhm.
had a great deal of mental health issues. He was on a number of different medications, and that was
Yes.
from their own evaluation of him. Let's talk about this crime he was charged with, and let's fill in the blanks there. When he got in trouble, what happened that day?
On that day, I was at work, and I get a call from family member, says that he got in a car accident and that there was a gun involved. They don't know what's going on. I go out, I go out to the scene, and once I get there, I get a phone call from a deputy, or they asked me to go to the house where we were living at. And I go there and I'm surrounded by all these vehicles, helicopters. There's men with big rifles everywhere, and they're trying to get into the house to see if he's there. The guy, my um, husband at the time, and his cousin came out of the house, and the point is, we were there until like 7 o'clock. They wouldn't let me leave. And then I was texting my son. I was texting him and asking him to please turn himself in, that it's not going to go good if he doesn't. And they catch him. I was fearful that they were just going to try to shoot or something, right? Be aggressive with him. And so ultimately, he calls me. He calls me around 7 o'clock at night. He's like, "Mom, um, I'm scared." He's like, "I'm scared." I'm like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Let me pick you up. Let me turn you in and this and that." He's like, ultimately, we decided that yes, that I was gonna go and pick him up. So once we hung up, I called the police over to my car and I told them. They said, we waited another 45 minutes and then they're like, "Okay, you're gonna go and pick him up and then you're gonna drop him off to the police station or whatnot." So once I picked him up, his eyes and his face looked like he saw a ghost, you know. He says that he felt like he had an out of body experience, that it happened so fast. Um, when I drop him off, you know, I stay there with him through the whole time. They're interrogating him and all. And they even showed me a video. They showed me the footage of what happened. And, you know, it was a matter of like 3 seconds. As soon as it was an impact, and then, you know, I saw what I saw, and it happened that quickly. And so that's what happened that day.
So he got into a wreck.
He got into a car accident, yes.
And what was the result of that accident?
Well, my son shot um the young man, may he rest in peace, Humphrey McGuire. And just for the record, I'm not trying to take anything from him, you know, from his family, the Tanzanian community. My heart, you know, is feels heavy, and it will for the rest of my life. I carry that with me every day. But yeah, my son took his life.
And you believe that your son was suffering from what he had already been diagnosed with, a psychotic breakdown, a manic
Yes,
depression, and paranoid schizophrenia.
yes. It had been
From
a
our
couple of.
research, Miss Jeannie, there was two things that stood out to me about this case.
Mm-hmm,
Your son, in my humble opinion, and I know many great lawyers, and I've seen more bad ones than great ones and good ones in Houston, Harris County.
mm-hmm.
But he had real poor representation, in my humble opinion. There was no
I agree.
real interaction with him and his counsel to prepare him, to help him in his own defense, to help him in dealing with what he was going through and what he was handling. And when he got inside the Harris County Jail, his mental health condition was established. He was in a psychotic state. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. He was suffering from different mental health disorders. But yet they were allowed to interrogate him in this state. They were allowed to
Mm-hmm,
question him thoroughly and depthly and interrogate him in this state. And the defense counsel never attempted to question that, strike that testimony, because it was done under duress in a psychotic state. Also,
mm-hmm.
the visitation, meetings between him and his counsel, it almost like it was non-existent from what we
Right,
could see.
right.
And so how can you really have someone charged with murder, a heinous crime like that? It is absolutely heinous. But yet you have deep, profound history of mental illness. But the lawyer is not even really meeting with his client at all, not
Right.
even establishing for himself if this client is able to assist me in his own defense. Then
Hmm.
the court didn't even raise sincere questions, even after being brought to their attention of this young man's mental health problems. It was almost as though it was never taken into consideration.
Well, they asked her directly, "What are you aware if he's taking any medication? Does he have any mental health issues or whatnot?" And she says, "Not that I'm aware of." So I have record. This is after I had sent her all the records that I had in my hand. So
Let's
she was
state that
very aware.
again. Let's make that clear, people. His own lawyer we're talking about here. His own lawyer. Her client is in the jail, taking several psychotropic medications, diagnosed with a systemic, in-depth mental health history. Had just recently left a mental facility with his mother, trying to get the appropriate medications adjusted. And his lawyer stands before the judge and tells the judge raises the question, is he currently on any mental health medications, mental health issues? Repeat what the lawyer said.
She said, "Not that she's aware of."
My God. So this entire criminal proceeding moved forward like this just was a natural young man who committed a heartless, cold-blooded crime, an evil person, and the court was never even made aware of the profound, in-depth psychotic history that was documented with mental health providers of your son.
And in that court, in the bond hearing, the DA, you know, she states that my son in 2010 ran from another bond from selling drugs in another city or another state. At that time, my son was 10 years old living with me. And my son told her, what's her name, Timberly, his attorney. He says, that's not me. That he whispered that in her ear, that's not me. I mean, that's not even my name on the paper that. And she's like, well, just don't say anything. She told him not to say anything. She never defended, raising the fact that's not him. He wasn't even at the age to be on his own and being arrested for selling drugs. So she just covered it up that way.
So the
Immediately I knew that he
prosecutor,
wasn't on his side.
the Harris County prosecutor, told an absolute lie to the
Yes,
court
yes,
that your son had been arrested and charged with a drug charge in another state,
yes,
and that when he was on bond, he absconded, jumped bond, and ran from that state.
yes,
And when this crime was committed, your son was 10 years old.
yes,
He's not even old enough to be
exactly.
put in an adult criminal proceeding and jump bond at 10 years old.
Yes,
Your son tells this same lawyer, that's not me. And you mean to tell me the lawyer didn't have enough common sense to look at the age of her client and look at the time frame that the prosecutor is talking about and recognize, excuse me, Miss Lawyer, your client was 10 years old. So what this woman is giving to the court and saying to the court, this prosecutor, is absolute perjured testimony. It's not true.
yes.
She didn't even snap to that.
She did not say, she told him not to say anything.
What else happened with this case, ma'am?
Well, ultimately, I think that's
The
pretty
crux
much
of what
all.
took place. Where's your
Yeah.
son now?
Well, right now he's in a TDCJ. He's in custody,
And how much time was he sentenced to?
30 years, and it was an aggravated assault, aggravated murder. What is it?
Murder, aggravated murder, first degree murder?
Yes,
So he's got 30 years.
yes,
I'm going to say this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't believe nobody is above the law. If you commit a crime, you should be held accountable. But I
yes,
believe in due process. I
yes.
believe in the constitutional right of due process. And I
Hmm.
believe that all of the facts should always be brought out and exposed before the court involving a case. I believe the prosecutor should not be allowed to lie in open court and not be held accountable, as many of them do. I
Hmm.
believe that judges have to be held accountable also, because the judge should have been able to look at the date of this defendant's date of birth and what the prosecutor was saying and recognize he's 10 years old. We have nothing but sincere condolences for the victim's family in this case. By no
Yes.
means are we making light. By no means
Mm-mm.
are we not compassionate. We don't have empathy and sympathy. We have all of that and more for your
Yes,
family.
yes,
But I believe that both families are victimized like this when all the facts are not brought out and families are not being told the truth about everything surrounding the death of their loved one.
yes,
And due process is being circumvented by prosecutorial misconduct and absolutely lazy, incompetent counsel that's masquerading as adequate and thorough defense of a defendant. That's what we are against. Jeannie, thank you for standing for your son. Thank
I've been
you,
waiting for this moment.
and thank you for giving your kind and sympathetic words and compassion to the victim's family, because you did that and you did it from your heart. But we want to
Yes,
thank you for standing up and exposing what took place in your son's case. Both families in this case deserve better, and both families, I believe, lost in this case. Thank you for
yes, I
being with
do.
us, Jenny. Thank you for
Yes,
sharing your
thank you
son's
for having.
story, and thank you for speaking up. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching another episode of the People's Global News Network. Thank you, our faithful viewers, for sharing every story that we bring to you. Let's expose this corruption, this abuse, the lack of empathy, sympathy, and the lack of due process and respect in all criminal courtrooms and civil courtrooms in America.